based on a post that went up today where somebody was struggling identifying components. I thought I'd introduce you to something I bought a long time ago, back to Best Investments. When I first got back into electronics, it was amazing how many times I was looking at components, and even with multimeters, a lot of the time I couldn't work out what they were. And I was at a show and I came across one of these, Atlas LCR. And at the time, they seemed ridiculously expensive. And in some respects, they still do. Because it's a tiny little plastic yellow box and the charging's still 80 odd quid for them. So I argued with myself and then finally went and bought one. And again, it's been one of the best investments I've ever made. Partly because the number of times I come across a component I don't know what it is, even now, and this little unit will help me, particularly when you've got things where the different coloured components with different, I mean, you can tell that's a capacitor, and if your eyesight is good enough, you can just about work out what the markings are saying on it. If we go over to the tight camera, can just no, you can't really tell it's what's saying on there. But by the time you've got the loop out, etc., it's a lot easier just to literally pop that into those two connectors, and I've got to be honest, these are being soldered and resoldered so many times because the cables have literally fallen apart. You can't really see that, it's not, there you go, that's better. So that's now connected. If I switch that on, I've got to say that the button's sticking a bit, but it'll now, it does a countdown and then analyses the component, and it's telling me that that's 223.6 nanofarads. So it's going to be a 220 nanofarads. Reason being is that even these days components have got a limited accuracy, so it's going to be as near as it can be 220 nanofarads. I've got to say, I think the button is sticking. As you can see, when I switch it on, it actually does tell you there, 220, just tell you, the calibration is due. So the calibration was due in 2005. So this was needed calibrated in 2005, so it gives you an idea how old it is. And it's still doing an absolute superb job, which I've got to say was a testament to the guys at Atlas. So that was sort of an easy one. We knew that was a capacitor. Anybody that knows a little bit about electronics knows that that is probably a choke. But the nice thing is the same little unit will do its kind. You can short circuit it by pressing the button again, and that's 1,000 microhenries, or 980 microhenries if you want to be accurate. And if we actually look at the end, it is saying it's 1,000 microhenries. So that is a nice little choke. I think you can just see the end there if we can get the light right. It's saying 105, which again, I'm no specialist in using chokes. I've not really used many of them. But when you start getting into radio frequency, everything does become a little bit of a black art. So we know that that is a little choke. So when you get these tiny little disc capacitors, they aren't the easiest thing to identify. If you can read the writing that's on the side of them, it's easy if you've still got the bag they came in, but it's amazing how many times you get something where you can't identify it. So let's ask it what it thinks that is. Cut the 5 seconds out, and that's a 10 nanofarads. So every time I've used this, it's made me feel, and that's a classic one. There we go. That's a classic one. There we go. What size of resistor is that? It's showing with the gold at this end, it's showing as a blue, red, black. So you get your colour chart out with your blue, red, black. Go to test. Short circuit it. Well, not short circuit it, but short the time out. And it's a choke. That is not a resistor. So if you try to use that as a resistor, it'd fail. It's an 85 microhenry choke, but it just looks like a resistor. And that is where this little thing really does start coming in and really does start showing its value. Because you look at that, you have a box of those and you think you've got a box of resistors, and that's actually a choke. And I purposefully picked these up because I knew they were chokes. This is probably a choke as well. I must admit, it's not often you see lime green resistors. But if you've gone and bought yourself a box of components off eBay, which one of the things that I've done in the past is go and buy myself a big box of components. So that's telling me that induction there is so low, it actually can't measure it. So it's probably quite a specialist inductor. Now then, if I did sit down and look at the things, I could probably work it out. Again, it just shows that this is not perfect. It has its limitations. That's another one. This is a lovely big 10,000 microfarad capacitor, and I am really interested as to whether it can read this. We use these on great big DC motor controllers to try and take some of the back EMF out of the controllers, particularly when we're doing pulse width modulation. So let's have a see. Does it? Will it? Won't it? It's like that one of those. Will it blend? Well, 10 is that? Has it got it right? Is it saying it as microfarads or no? It's 10. It'll be 10 megafarads, won't it? Will it be? It's got it. I think it's got it right. I think it's got it as 10. Let's try it again. Will it blend? I think it's got it. It is. It's 10 megafarads, isn't it? Or 10,000 microfarads. I might be convincing myself there. I'm not entirely sure. But and then you get like this tiny little one here. It's just it's that small. I'm getting so as my eyes can't read those even with glasses on. You end up having to go and find a great big magnifying glass. Let's see what it thinks to that. 460 picofarads. So it's not the world's greatest solution. It will measure inductors, capacitors and resistors. And there are others that they do in the range. I've got to say, we've had one or two different ones. This is still my favourite. This is the one that over all the time and all the years, all the times I've used it, it's been able to tell me something that I was absolutely dead in the water struggling with. And it's invaluable help, particularly when you're learning. And it was this and you know, other things that I bought that made the difference between me getting to the point where I'd fed up of electronics and I just didn't want to do it anymore because nothing seemed to work, through to being able to sit down and go, now I can see why that's not working, or I can see where that's going wrong, and gave me that a chance to start making some successes and getting some getting some success under my belt to the point where I was happy that I was going forward.